when we need to put s or es or ies to the end of the verb, we will have the table for these rules, and also we will understand why we have auxiliary verb does. One more time. Right now we see examples of the structure, but without part of the speech, just words. And all the structures, this is for you for practice. If you want to speak, you need to use examples of the structures. So this is our table. We have here positive sentences, we have here negative sentences and questions. I start, I do not start, or I don't start. Do I start? You start, you do not start. Do you start? The question. He starts, she starts, it starts. As you can see, subjects, he, she, it. At the end of the verb in infinitive form, we need to put the end ending s. Start, this is just general verb, and for general verbs, we need to put s. So, before our lesson with a table of endings, for verbs which endings ss, ch, double s, as I said before, double s, ch, sh, o, x, we need to put es. So go, goes, do, does. And where? This is where we have our auxiliary verb does. I do homework, she does homework. I do not do my homework, she does not do her homework. So auxiliary verb do ending o plus es. Write this table. You can pause the video, you can read the sentences, follow the structure, and create your own sentences. All rules, as I mentioned, you need to write. You need to make some notes. Use your notebook, use your laptop, make some notes. It's easy to watch the video lesson one more time. And first lessons, which include grammar rules, you need to repeat these rules with structures a lot of times. This is a goal here. Repeat the structure, and after that you can practice this structure for speaking. So, attention, what do we have here? First, in the present simple tense, we add the suffix s at the end of the verbs for the third singular subject, he, she, it. This is what we discussed before. This is a note for you. On the other hand, we use first forms of the verbs for other subjects. I, you, we, they. You, as you can see, I, you, we, you, they. You, singular, you, plural. This is the main idea. When we use he, she, it, we need to add suffix s or es at the end of the verb. That's what you need to remember. I read a book, I write a letter, she reads a book, he writes a letter. Verbs that ending with double s, es, double s, ch, sh, we need to add es at the end of this verb. Second rule, attention, although we add the suffix s at the end of the verb for the third singular subjects in positive sentences, we remove the suffix s at the end of the verb in questions and negative sentences because of being used does or doesn't as an auxiliary verb. So, one more time. In positive sentences, in the present simple, we need to add the suffix s at the end of the verb. She reads, he writes. But in negative sentences, we don't have the suffix s at the end of the verb. As you can see in the previous table, we had examples. He starts, he does not start. He starts, he does not start. So when we have does not, when we have negative structure, we don't need to add s at the end of the main verb, because our ending s we need to add to our auxiliary verb do. Do ends in o plus es. This is a tricky rule here. This is a tricky rule for each student. This is just the first lection. Don't be worried about this. I'm talking here. I'm trying to show you rules, examples, tables, but this is just our first lection. We will repeat. I don't want from you that you sit and memorize everything in one lesson. No. We need just repeat. We need to have a lot of practice, a lot of examples, sentences, and speak and practice. This is the way how can you memorize all these structures here and see them. Let's go forward. Write this note. Sometimes I will make some pause and you will have the time to make some notes. And let's write examples. This is our time for examples. Before it was the structure of the sentences, and right now it will be our examples. Here we will see how we need to use our present simple tense in practical way. One more time for you, the structure: positive sentences, subject, are you with a or he, she, it, plus v1, the main verb in infinitive form, plus ending s, es, ies. Examples: my mother lets me go out with my friends. I prefer my black coffee, so my mother, she lets, verb plus s. I prefer, subject I, we don't need to put anything to the verb. She puts, put plus s because subject she puts the keys on the table. The teacher, he or she, shouts, verb plus s, at us all the time. I have two brothers. I have, subject I, verb infinitive form. Coffee grows in Brazil. Coffee, it grows, grow plus s, where in Brazil. So we have the structure, we have the sentence. If you need to write all the sentences, you can pause the video. First of all, you need to pay attention. First, the start of the sentence, the subject. Which subject in this sentence? Are you with a, he, she, it. After that, the main verb of the action, infinitive form. If are you with a, verb without s. If he, she, it, verb plus s. This is the main idea. Negative sentences. One more time. The structure: subject plus do, auxiliary verb, or does, plus not, plus verb of the action in infinitive form. Do, are you with a, does, he, she, it. My mother, she, does not let me go out with my friends. So as you can see, that were I talking about. So my mother does not let without s, because we have auxiliary verb does. We don't need to put any s, es at the end of the main verb of the action. Let without s, because you have auxiliary verb does. I do not prefer. If I want to make a negative sentence, I need to use do plus not. She does not put without s, because you have does. Does. The verb do, auxiliary verb do, ends in O. When the verb ends in O, you need to put es at the end of this verb. That's why we have does. So the ending from the main verb, we need to relocate to auxiliary verb. The teacher does not shout. I do not have. Coffee does not grow. Write these examples and practice. Create your own sentences. Subject, verb. Subject, auxiliary verb plus noun plus verb. For different subjects, different auxiliary verbs. Questions. Do, does, the first position plus subject plus verb infinitive form. Examples. Does your mother let you go out with your friends? Do you prefer your black coffee? Does she put the keys on the table? Does the teacher shout at us all the time? Do I have two brothers? Does coffee grow in Brazil? Do, does, first position. After that, subject. Do, are you with a? Does he, she eat? After that, the main verb of the verb. Also, in questions, you don't need to put s at the end of the verb when you use subjects he, she, it, because you have auxiliary verb does. Does already have ending es. It was do, are you with a, for are you with a. For he, she, it, we created does. This is do plus es. The tricky rule, the tricky system here. Yes,